Sports Talk. I'm your host, Andrew Wright. This is my co-host, Cody Johnson.
Welcome.
Cody, we're going to talk about NFL, right? None of this college stuff.
No, I want to watch some overpaid millionaires play a game that I only dream I can play a third as well as they can. Not even half a third. I just want a third.
I'll be third string all day.
If I can just sit on that bench with that salary. Are you kidding me?
Okay. So a question that I had already talked to you about, I feel very strongly about. I've gotten a lot of questions about who's going to be the number one pick in the NFL draft. And a lot of people are saying, obviously, Miles Garrett is the best player in the draft. And that's why he's going to go overall number one.
Mm-hmm.
But as we've seen over the years, you have the Cleveland Browns at number one. They may not even keep that pick. Who knows? That's always the question with Cleveland. They might trade it.
Kevin Costner may sell it for Magic Beans. Wait. No. I'm sorry.
No, that's not real.
That's not. Damn. Okay, sorry.
Because Cleveland would actually be winning.
That's okay. Dang. Okay, I thought I was on to something.
But a lot of people are saying that Cleveland should go after a quarterback.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you first, because I'm going to go on a rant
when
you're done. Do the Browns pick Miles Garrett, or do they go after a quarterback this year?
Yeah, no, they need to draft Garrett. I can't even BS on this one right now. They need to draft Garrett. He's a freakish athlete. He is, in my opinion, a franchise-type defensive player you want to anchor your defense. They've even got a couple of young pieces now that they've somewhat drafted or picked up that could be complementary, and they've got 11 picks this year in this year's draft. So it's not like that they only have one pick and it's make or break. They've got 11 picks to really help this franchise moving forward, especially with Hugh Jackson being in his second season when it starts. And they need a lot of help on both sides of the ball. There's just no doubt. I mean, they were I can't even put into words how terrible the Browns were. I mean, and what's even worse is they weren't bad. They were competitive. Like, they were in it on some games, and then when they beat San Diego on the last second field goal, I mean, they were in most of their games. They even pushed, I think it was the Steelers to only losing them by 3. So they were competitive, but they are just so. They need a lot of help, and I think the start of it right now would be Garrett. And you got to break this quarterback curse. You've got, I don't know how many. I think it's like 20 something now quarterbacks that you've drafted since the Browns have come home from when the Ravens were created, in a sense. And not one of them, I mean, the only one that you can say probably really did well was Derek Anderson that one year that they made it to the playoffs and went 10-6. And that was 2003, 2006, I think. That was a lot of years ago. I can't even remember, but that was the one season I remember that they were somewhat decent at. And they just need Garrett, bottom line. And they've got $102 million in cap space, number one in the league. So they've got money to burn. They, in my opinion, need to start not only helping Garrett by getting some offense. So re-sign Pryor's got to be your top priority because he was very versatile. Sign some O-line, sign some D. That's basically all I have. But draft Garrett first. That's step one, is drafting Garrett. Step one to maybe making yourselves as relevant as the Cleveland Cavaliers, even though they are now like this phenomenal team. If you want to be even mentioned in the same breath, and not in a joking fashion, but mentioned in the same prestigious as them, you gotta pick him, and you've got to sign some players that could help mature him, and a young defense that he can put his fingerprint on. Almost very similar to Khalil Mack, and I think this is the player for him.
I'm going to start out by saying I agree. I think Miles Garrett is the one that you have to draft. Here we go.
The floor is yours.
It really reminds me of the Oakland Raiders. And the reason it reminds me of the Oakland Raiders, as probably most of you watching will know, I am an Oakland Raider fan. So I follow them on the draft day. It really reminds me of the draft when they got Amari Cooper.
Uh-huh.
And the debate was, is Oakland going to go after Amari Cooper, or are they going to go after this kid, Kevin White?
Yeah.
And Kevin White, for those of you who don't know, was about a 6'2", almost 6'3" receiver from West Virginia. He was a senior at West Virginia, so everyone was saying, oh, he's a veteran, he's coming into the league, he had a great year.
He's very fast.
He's fast, yeah. The thing was, Cooper was a little bit faster, in my opinion anyway. He was a little bit faster with pads, I should say.
Yeah.
He was a better route runner. Cooper had done it consistently for 2 years straight.
Right.
He was killing it in Alabama and actually had a better year his second year.
Yeah.
And so Cooper had more game tape. Kevin White didn't even start until his senior year.
Yeah.
And that was not mentioned a lot, what I remember. And so I remember I was trying to follow both of them. I was like, I really want to know who these guys are. Because I'm more interested when it comes to receivers because I played the receiver position in high school. And so I really like seeing what type of receivers there are.
Right.
And so that's why I kind of pay attention a little bit more when it comes to receivers. Kevin White, to me, was a guy who he couldn't get past another receiver until his senior year. And it almost makes me think that the only reason he played... Now, West Virginia has a very high-powered offense, and they still do if you watch them this year.
Yeah.
They are an offense that is positioned to make receivers look better.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that, I go, I don't want this Kevin White kid.
Mm-hmm.
And his potential is good. And Kevin White actually did okay for Chicago when he did play.
Right.
But he's injury prone, and that was his other knock.
Right. He actually, technically, this past season was the first that he played since college.
Yeah.
And I think he only played in, 8 or 9 games? I don't even think he played that many games.
I think it was
because
6.
of injury. And he missed his rookie season because of injury to a foot that actually, when they found out, I think it was during when they were bringing him in for tours in the Oakland Raiders, I think them and a couple other teams discovered that he had somewhat of a foot problem. And it's like, it's something that you'll have to deal with. Well, come to find out, Chicago played the safe card. They got him the foot surgery and they put him out for the rest of the year. And he came back, didn't even play in that. He didn't play in, I think, half of the games. And then he went out again. And even still, when he played, he wasn't an attention grabber in the sense of the defense needs to pay attention to him. Because, yeah, he can run past you, but what else can he do? Because, again, the most game tape you had from his career at West Virginia was his senior year when he started. Yeah. So anyways, continue.
So the reason I bring up the Amari Cooper and Kevin White comparison was Kevin White had the potential to be possibly a top 10 receiver. Mm-hmm. Amari Cooper, his ceiling could also be that, but you know what you were getting with Amari Cooper, so he was almost the safer pick.
Yeah.
But Kevin White could reach the same potential, but you just haven't seen as much.
Right.
And a lot of people would say that he had the potential to actually even be better than Amari Cooper. And Oakland had to outweigh that. And honestly, what it showed me that year was, and that's honestly to me the year that everything turned around, was when they got, when they got Derek Carr and Khalil Mack. But after that, then when they got Amari Cooper, it kind of showed you that Oakland Raiders, if you don't know what we went through for 15 years, actually 16 years, we went through a horrid 16-year draft.
It was
terrible.
We had terrible players everywhere from Darius Haywood-Bay, which was ironic as we passed up on. In that same draft, there was Michael Crabtree, a young Michael Crabtree, that we could have selected because he was there. We drafted Darius Haywood-Bay, which Mel Kiper Jr. said later on that draft is Haywood-Bay would have fallen to the 3rd round, and we still could have gotten both receivers if we really wanted to. And later we got Crabtree as more of a veteran, which is fine, but it just goes to show the pick. And then we picked Jamarcus Russell, which honestly,
I'll get to that in a second because I do have something on that. So the reason I bring that up is Cooper was the safer pick. Kevin White could have been a little bit better if he could stay healthy, but the Raiders have been through so much crap where they finally were like, listen, we have to go with a more consistent player. Mm-hmm. We need more consistency. We haven't had that in years. we need to go after Amari Cooper. And it turned out really good.
Yeah.
It could have been really bad, but honestly, if Amari Cooper sucked, I would not be like, oh, I can't believe we got Amari Cooper. Because I would see Kevin White and be like, well,
could be worse. Yeah.
We could have had a guy who never played.
Right.
Basically. So I say that to say this. Miles Garrett in this draft is the safer choice.
Right.
He's the one that makes the most sense.
Right.
He's the best player in the draft. He's a guy that could potentially be a Von Miller. A lot of people say that he kind of reminds them of Julius Peppers, who Julius Peppers is still playing in the league. Maybe he's not the biggest name, but he's still a really good football player.
I mean,
anyone would take.
He was still very effective when he played against the Cowboys, which ultimately beat them. He was very effective against the Giants, which they beat. He wasn't every down kind of defensive back to rush the passer, but when they called upon him, he sure enough was there often enough to help them. So to have a player like that or potential to hit that ceiling, especially when Julius Peppers was in his prime, oh my gosh, that was like once in a lifetime kind of talent.
Yeah. The reason that the quarterback position is being brought up is obviously the Browns haven't had a quarterback in since the Cleveland Browns have been Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
So with that being said, a lot of people are saying Mitch Trubisky should be the number one pick if you're going to draft any quarterback, and I'm going to say no to that. The only way I would say that if the Browns didn't draft Miles Garrett, they should draft Deshaun Watson. And I know that would surprise a lot of people. I know a lot of people would be like, well, he's even said to be in the second round. If you're Cleveland, you hope he goes to the second round. Because honestly, out of the top 3 quarterbacks that they're saying, he is the only one who's played over 30 games.
In their collegiate career.
And if you play over 30 games, that's over 2 seasons in the regular NFL season.
And he beat Alabama this past championship game.
And you can make an argument, because I actually went back and watched that game. I watched all the key plays, I should say, on the 2016 National Championship when Alabama beat Clemson.
Yeah.
I went back and I watched it. You could make a huge argument that Deshaun Watson could have won that game if Clemson's defense was a little bit better, because this past year, they still had basically the same defense that came back with them, and they were more mature, a lot better, more disciplined, understood what it took to win, and they went out and did it.
Yeah.
So you can make a case that Deshaun Watson could have had 2 national championships under his belt, and he comes in. Deshaun Watson, not only, he doesn't have the best arm strength. And if you want to talk about arm strength and you want to say Mitch Trubisky, go ahead. Because I'm a Raider fan, and I remember hearing all about arm strength, and they drafted Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah. Oh
and with Jamarcus Russell, he had the best arm I had ever seen.
The guy could throw out of the stadium.
Yeah, the guy could have thrown a football 100 miles an hour easily.
Yeah.
He easily could have done it. He had such a powerful arm. He was not super accurate. Not a lot of great quarterbacks do have that accuracy. But the one thing that Jamarcus Russell did not have, and why he completely hit his face on a brick wall, was this.
Yeah.
He didn't have the brains. You don't have the smarts. The one thing out of Mitch Trubisky, Deshaun Kaiser, and Deshaun Watson, which I think is kind of funny, Deshaun and Deshaun, they're spelled differently. But that. Yeah. My buddy will actually like that. I don't want to say his name because he didn't give me permission. But he's got the smarts. If you watch both the national championships games, and I know I'm focusing on the national championship games,
but this gets Alabama.
Yeah,
honestly,
it gets Alabama. So you're going against an NBA. Good Lord, NFL defense. A lot of people would say he just scrambled a lot and he made plays. Okay.
What you got to, I mean,
that's bad. He's making plays.
Look at some of the top passers right now. Aaron Rodgers can, stand in the pocket and deliver it, but he also, one of the key plays that beat the Cowboys, he scrambled out of the pocket. He didn't stay in the pocket. He scrambled out of the way. So Deshaun Watson has to create his own for his teammates. that's just his game plan. I heard, and just to piggyback off of Watson being the top quarterback that should go first, not necessarily first overall, because honestly, again, with 11 picks that the Browns have, you honestly would probably want to hope that he falls into second. Maybe, knock on wood, if you're hearing that really nobody wants him, hopefully he falls in the third round, be cheaper, less of a risk, honestly, and you can probably get another pretty good other players in between there, because I think they also have the first pick and the 12th pick in the draft, if I'm not mistaken.
I will say, sorry to cut you off, but Deshaun Watson's stock is rising in the NFL draft because of the combine. A lot of his deep throws, a lot of scouts were really pretty impressed with. I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying now that his stock is rising, that could mean Cleveland might not get him. I'm not saying they won't, but just kind of wanted to...
Right. I mean, you got teams like San Francisco that are due up, that need a franchise quarterback. And I mean, in my opinion, Watson would probably be an upgrade, in my opinion, than Kaepernick. The only thing is Kaepernick has more velocity on his ball, but I think Watson could still do pretty well as far as being a good passer, delivering it where it needs to go as long as there's enough help. And they've got a pretty good O-line, so, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if San Francisco picks him up first. I mean, there's a lot of other teams that need a quarterback right away. So.
Yeah. And I also did want to bring this up. And honestly, I've actually been talking myself into Deshaun Watson a lot this week. I honestly didn't realize how good he was. You kind of look at the numbers, you go, okay, that's pretty decent for a college player. You go back and you watch some of his games, and you're just like, I get it. Like, to me, Peyton Manning, when he was coming into the league, he had 3 years under his belt. He comes in to Indianapolis, and he wasn't the best. He didn't win every single game that he played, but you could see there were glimpses. And I saw the same thing with Derek Carr. When he came to Oakland, they won, 2 games, 3 games?
Yep, 3 games.
And everyone was like, oh gosh, But you could see what Derek Carr had. You could say, listen, they have something here. And some people were like, well, let's not jump to conclusions. It was just a rookie year. It was a very bad team. He had some good pass. But if you watch every single game, especially exactly like Peyton Manning and exactly like Derek Carr, I have a feeling that would be Deshaun Watson. He might not come into the league just being basically Dak Prescott, where he's winning everything.
Right.
He's going to go to a situation that's not great. But if you see those glimpses, which I see in Deshaun Watson, and I don't say that about many quarterbacks coming out of the college and into the NFL draft, I don't always say that, but I see glimpses of Deshaun Watson, and I feel like you can build on that. If he goes to the right team, I'm not saying that Cleveland is the right team, but when you have a guy like they do in the head coach of Hugh Jackson, who is actually really good with quarterbacks, if you get that type of a head coach, Deshaun Watson could actually flourish. I'm not saying that Deshaun Watson's going to be the greatest quarterback of all time. I'm not saying he's even going to be top 10. But I feel like Deshaun Watson, from what I've seen, I feel like he can potentially be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And I'm saying that honestly. I really do.
Awesome.
With Mitch Trubisky, the guy couldn't beat out Marquise Williams. Marquise Williams was undrafted, was signed by the Vikings, and then released after his rookie year, which was 2016. He signed with the Packers for 4 months, and they said, go away. Okay, Deshaun Kaiser, he's the only other guy who I would say that would rival Deshaun Watson. He played 25 games for Notre Dame. No, he was in a bad situation in Notre Dame, so honestly, you can't really judge what he can do. Again, you see a little bit of glimpse here and there, but
it's flashes.
You see more with Deshaun Watson.
In a sense that you see a little bit more consistency, and you definitely see a lot more of this competitiveness that you want to push your team to win the games, and you don't see it with the other two. And I agree. I think Watson in this quarterback draft is the better option out of all of them, and probably will have better success. Top 5, that means that we're going to be going to the type of offense and the type of quarterback play that you and I are both seeing, which is a dual threat type of quarterback. more of a Cam Newton style kind of offense, and even Jameis Winston, who sits in the pocket but also can scramble. We're going to be seeing a lot of that trend probably, and Deshaun Watson is that quarterback that's probably going to be the next gifted QB that we talk about.